Today on the channel, I'm going to tell you about something that just happened recently. A guitar of mine was left at a friend's house, and he pawned it. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about something that just happened to me recently over the last month. It's a little bit of a long story. I'm going to give you the revised quick version of it, the best that I can, but I thought it was a really interesting topic to talk about on this channel, interesting subject matter, so here we go. So last summer in 2025, my youngest son, who's 23, graduated from college, and he took a summer job in Oregon, near Newport, Oregon. I am near Nashville, Tennessee, as many of you know that follow my channel. So for the summer, he went to Oregon, and the reason he went there was one of his best friends from high school lives in that area now and said, "You should come out here, it's beautiful on the coast." And both my son and his friend are musicians. They work really great together. They've been playing and writing music together for several years now, and they surfed out there and had a great time. But on his trip out to Oregon, my son drove his little Volkswagen GTI, and he camped at campgrounds and did a full-on tour of the U.S. driving out to Oregon. It was a fun summer trip, and when he got to Oregon, he worked in his summer job for a couple of months, and then he came back through other parts of the country, made his way back to Nashville, which was a really fun trip for him, and it was amazing, right? But he brought two guitars. He brought his Les Paul that I gave him for graduation, and he brought one of my custom-made guitars that has a tremolo system. It's like a super strap. It's called the Phil Orisek guitar. Phil Orisek is a spine surgeon in California, but he also makes boutique guitars from scratch. And Phil reached out to me maybe 2 or 3 years ago and offered to make me one of his Orisek guitars from scratch to my specs. So it's a very special guitar to me, but Devin wanted to bring a guitar out there, and he asked if he could bring that one, and I said sure, not a problem. So my son took the guitar out there, and both of them, and him and his buddy recorded and played music and had a great summer. When it came time for Devin to come back to Tennessee, he had left the guitar at his friend's home studio, and he wasn't home, and my son had to get on the road. He had to get going, and he told his buddy, "Listen, you fly back to Nashville on a regular basis to work with some music stuff." He does sound production and engineering and stuff. "Just bring it back with you when you fly back, or I'll be back next summer. I'll come out there, but for the time being, just use it." Which, in all honesty, is not that didn't make me the happiest person in the world when he came back home and said, "Hey, I left this guitar out there," and he's like, "Well, I'm gonna get it back." And I know, I'm not gonna name any names. I know the guy that's out in Oregon, and he's been at my house many times. My son and him were best buddies in high school. I know this guy really well. So I was like, that's cool. It's in good hands. So over the last couple of months, I've been reminding my son, "Hey, can you send him a message and see if he'll send the guitar back? I'll pay for shipping. I just want to get it back." Because, I just figured it may be out there for a long, long time. Well, his friends started ghosting him and not responding to him. And that was kind of concerning. He didn't know why. But in their friend circle, my son's the only one in the friendship circle getting ghosted. So he's the only one that his buddy's not talking to. We didn't think anything of it, didn't relate it to the guitar. So 2 weeks ago, on a Saturday morning, I'm checking my Instagram messages and doing my thing, right? And I get this random message from a person that says, "My dad bought a guitar at a pawn shop in Newport, Oregon, and he thinks it may be stolen. It looks like your guitar. And he sent me a picture of it, and this guitar is definitely a unique instrument. It's one that you can't, it's one of a kind, and you'll see it here. Hopefully it's in this box right here. So everything's said and done, go to the quick reveal, the spoiler here. I wound up getting the guitar shipped back. I wound up calling this guy's father. His name's David. And David, if you're watching this video, he's a subscriber to my channel. But he did an AI search of the guitar on the internet, and he located it on my channel. And that's why they messaged me, and they said, "Hey, we got your guitar, we think. Is it stolen?" Come on, kitty. Come on, kitty, 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 kitty. Okay, sorry about the edit. I had to let the cat outside. He was driving me nuts. And anyways, so through AI search, he found my channel, he found the guitar, and they contacted me. Now, that just gives me a lot of faith in humanity. I've had guitars stolen before. About 15 years ago, I had 17 guitars stolen from a home studio that I had at the time, and I never got those guitars back. One was a signed, autographed Steve Vai gem. One was my #1 Warmoth, custom-made Warmoth through body neck. One was a BC Rich Mockingbird Supreme from 1981. I lost a bunch of stuff, never ever to be found again. Fortunately, I have really good insurance, so it was covered, but you can't replace memories and sentimental stuff. So thank God there's honest people out there in the world. And David, if you're watching this, man, I appreciate you so much. You didn't have to message me and let me know you bought this guitar. It was really an honorable thing. So hopefully it arrives safely and everything's intact. So I asked him, what did you pay for it? And he said, he sent me a receipt. It was $335. So that means my friend probably got $100 for this guitar, right? And I thought, man, if I knew he was down and out and needed the money, I would have sent him $100. I would have helped out somebody if he was in that bad of shape. But I guess, when you're in desperate need, I'm not trying to justify it, but sometimes you do dumb things, and I forgive him for it. It's just a material object, right? And it worked out okay, but it stings. But I had a bunch of guitars stolen in the past that I never got back, and then this one wound up, technically, you could consider this theft. I called the cops out in Oregon, or not the cops, I called the pawn shop to ask them if there was anything they could do if I got a police report, if they'd refund this David person who found my guitar, or bought my guitar. They'd refund him, and I'd pay for shipping, and they'd send it to me. And they said that the Oregon police won't do anything, that it would be a civil matter between me and this other guy. And I just didn't want to go that route, right? I contacted, my son is good friends with his dad out here in Nashville, and his dad said he'd make it right with us and help us out. And since then, he has ghosted us as well. So I'm trying to be, a good guy here, and I forgive it. It all worked out in the end, but it's just wrong. Anyways, got the guitar back. I wound up paying $90 to have it shipped. The person that sent it back to me, David, was vacationing in Newport, Oregon at the time, and bought it at this pawn shop in Newport. And he's from Utah. So he finally made it back to Utah after Easter weekend and got home, and his wife went to the post office and mailed this thing back to me. They mailed it back to me, and it was shipped before I ever even paid them for it. So they had full trust in me. Really nice people. Great people exist, and that's really encouraging in these days and times that we're in. So let's unbox this. I'm going to see if it was shipped and everything arrived intact. Hopefully it did, and we'll see, and then we'll check it out, okay? Let me get a knife and we'll unbox it. All right, I've got a knife. We're going to open this thing up. Thanks for listening to that long story. I hope that I summarized it decently and it made sense. It's kind of a convoluted, long story, and many of you in the comments probably will say, or maybe many of you are thinking, if the guitar didn't get left there in the first place, that was irresponsible, this wouldn't have happened. And that's true, you know, but when you leave something with, my son left this with one of his best friends that he had known for years and had written music with. And what's even more unusual is in around January, his friend had come back to Nashville and ran sound at a place down in Nashville. They paid him to come and run sound because that's what he does. And they got together and spent 3 or 4 days together, writing music and composing and jamming and doing their thing. So that was in January. So something happened between January and now. And like I said earlier, it could have been a financial situation, a really bad situation, and we do things in those circumstances that we shouldn't. So, you know, that's the deal. All right. This was packed really well. All right, let me, sorry for all the noise. I gotta take a few things off here. Okay, let's see. When you see this guitar, you might say, why did you even want that thing back? But you have to understand, this was the very, very first and only guitar I've ever had anybody make for me from scratch. Everything other than the electronics and the components on this guitar, like the tuners, all the wood, everything was cut from scratch. 400-year-old sassafras, really old maple on the neck, custom lacquer. It's it. This is it, man. This is it. No neck damage, nothing. Everything's intact. I was kind of thinking, man, maybe this guitar will have some missing parts, like the pickups out of it or something. But this is a Phil Orisek guitar. Many of you may have seen this on my channel before. I've done demos with this guitar, and I showed the original unboxing when I got it. The headstock is polarizing. It looks kind of like an empanada or a UFO. It's very unique. Look how those tuners lay in the headstock. Now Phil he paints his guitars really well. He does a great job. But for some reason, this burgundy mist lacquer started to crack within a month of me getting it. And he's never had a guitar do that. And to this day, it continues to crack a little bit, and I actually think that's kind of cool. It's almost like it's bursting out of its seams. Like, remember in The Incredible Hulk, when he would turn into the Hulk, he'd rip out of his clothes. This wood, which is 400-year-old sassafras, must have expanded or something. It was super wet in California when this thing was sprayed. They were getting torrential floods. It was 2 or 3 years ago, I think 3 years ago, and he said the climate may have caused some of that to happen. I'm almost tempted to strip this down and repaint it. This wood under here is I can tell it's really beautiful. It's a really beautiful piece of wood. So I almost kind of want this wood to be seen, but I hate stripping paint off guitars. I could put a heat gun on it and get it really good, I guess, real quick. So that may be a future project, but I'm partial to this burgundy mist and these cracks. Now, I don't know if the tremolo arm, I don't know if the bar was with it. It looks like it is. This is a Vega tremolo system, and I was a little bit worried. I thought, man, if the tremolo arm's not with it, I don't know if I'll be, I guess I could track down a Vega tremolo arm. But it's very specific for this model. If you've never played a Vega tremolo, these things are so super smooth. I mean, they are beautiful trems. Man, such a cool guitar. And it's in tune. See, there's a letter. Some kind of a letter in here. Oh, there's the receipt from the pawn shop. And there's a typed up letter from Dave. Subject, PJO Custom Lost and Found. Dear Marty, I don't know if you're into the forensic history used guitar finds as much as me, but in case you are, I'm including this little timeline events you can tuck away in your gig bag. If not, I made a copy for my own journal. I accompanied a couple of my boys on a road trip from Cache Valley, Utah to the Oregon coast for spring break to visit family and do a little fishing. Not feeling great on the second day I stayed in town, feeling nostalgic. I wandered into my uncle's old sporting goods store in Newport. The new owners turned the place into a pawn shop, and it wasn't long before I was checking out the guitars and pedals. While horsing around with one of the fancier axes on the practice amp, I noticed their rack of budget guitars on my side of the counter. The PJO stood out like a sore thumb among the Squire and first act Strats. I loved how it felt and sounded, but I was mostly fascinated with the truly handmade look and only a mother would love. It looked like an amalgamation of my favorite axe components stitched together by a mad scientist in Haight-Ashbury. The price tag even said Frankenstrat. I didn't want to haul another guitar. I didn't have room in my 764 miles in already cramped Honda Civic. Sounds like me. But we don't choose who we fall in love with. You should name it after Dogpool from Deadpool 3, since it's fugly and beautiful at the same time. That is so true. Now, my real obsession with thrift shopping is discovering the story behind the thing. That night, I spent a couple of hours online trying to identify the individual components, thinking it had been evolving through gradual modifications over the years. The rabbit hole led me to Dr. Phil, of course, confirming my impression that I had discovered something truly special. Typing Phil Orisek and PJO into YouTube immediately popped up your unboxing video dated February 25th of 2023, explaining all the great features and specs. Then you pointed out cracks in the nitro finish, and it felt like I swallowed a bucket of ice. We've all been there before. Heck, I still get angry thinking about the time I found my wife's stolen wedding ring in the pawn shop down the street. If the guitar indeed ended up in that shop illegitimately, I knew that I would find much more satisfaction getting it back to the owner than playing it badly in my den. Tell Phil those cracks in the finish were the fingerprints that got his Frankenstrat back to the rightful owner. And a shout out to my son Alonzo for tracking you down on Instagram for me. It has been a genuine pleasure to reunite the two of you. Yours truly, Dave. P.S. Thank you for the great lessons you provide to fledgling guitarists like myself. Although I have to admit my tone-deaf ear makes me a lost cause. P.S. number 2: if you run across some cool stuff in Nashville, for that, like all other red-blooded Americans, I love lightning bolt neck straps, Eagles, TriStars. Send them my way. If the whammy bar is enclosed in the tag receipt. As you can see, I'm a terrible haggler, but at least there's no sales tax in Oregon. Man, that is so cool. That is so awesome. Dave, I can't thank you enough for sending me back this guitar. Like you said, it's fugly, but it's also beautiful. And it was custom made for me by a very special luthier and a friend that I met online. All this wouldn't be possible if it weren't for YouTube. And in many ways, you've restored my faith in humanity. If you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing, comment below, and as always, have a great day. Peace out.